Your 20s are supposed to be the decade that sets up the rest of your life. It's the time when you start earning real money, making independent decisions, and building the future you've always imagined. But for millions of people, something unexpected happens. The more they earn, the more they spend, and without realizing it, they fall into the biggest money trap of their lives. The scary part? It doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels completely normal. You get your first full-time job, your first paycheck arrives. For the first time, you have financial freedom. Suddenly, you start imagining everything you've wanted for years. A nicer apartment, a newer car, the latest smartphone, weekend trips, designer clothes, nice restaurants. None of these purchases seem unreasonable on their own. After all, you worked hard for your money. You deserve to enjoy it. But that's exactly how the trap begins. Every time your income goes up, your lifestyle quietly follows. A small raise becomes a bigger apartment. A bonus becomes a new vacation. A promotion becomes a more expensive car. Little by little, your monthly expenses grow until they match your new paycheck. Then something strange happens. Even though you're earning more than ever, your bank account never seems to grow. You check your balance at the end of the month and ask yourself, where did all my money go? The answer usually isn't one huge purchase. It's dozens of small decisions repeated every single month. Streaming subscriptions you rarely use. Food delivery instead of cooking. Coffee every morning. Impulse shopping online. Monthly memberships. Financing payments. Luxury upgrades that slowly become your new normal. Individually, they don't seem expensive. Together, they quietly consume thousands of dollars every year. This is called lifestyle inflation. And unlike regular inflation, lifestyle inflation is completely under your control. The problem isn't earning more money. The problem is allowing every raise to immediately become a reason to spend more. Imagine running on a treadmill. You keep moving faster, you work harder, you sweat more. But no matter how much effort you put in, you never actually move forward. That's exactly what lifestyle inflation feels like. Your income increases, your spending increases, but your financial position stays exactly the same. The biggest money trap in your 20s isn't making too little. It's spending every dollar you make before it has the chance to build your future. And once that habit becomes normal, breaking free becomes much harder. But here's the good news. There's a simple shift that can completely change where your money goes. And the math behind it might surprise you. Let's compare two people. Meet Alex and Jordan. They're both 25 years old. They graduated around the same time, landed similar jobs, and earn nearly identical salaries. A year later, they both receive a $5,000 raise. Same opportunity, same paycheck. But, from this point on, their decisions begin to separate their futures. Alex sees the raise as permission to upgrade his lifestyle. He moves into a nicer apartment, buys a bigger TV, starts eating out more often, signs up for a few more subscriptions. And before long, that entire raise has disappeared into higher monthly expenses. Jordan also celebrates his raise, but he makes one small decision first. He increases his automatic investment before changing anything else. Every payday, a portion of his raise goes directly into a diversified investment account. What's left? He enjoys it. Notice the difference. Neither person stopped enjoying life. The difference is simply the order of their decisions. Alex spends first and saves whatever is left. Jordan invests first and spends what remains. At first, the results don't look very different. Both are driving to work. Both are paying their bills. Both are living comfortable lives. But beneath the surface, something important is happening. Alex's monthly expenses continue growing. Jordan's investments continue growing. Now let's use a simple example. Imagine you invest just $150 every month. That's about $5 a day, less than many people spend on coffee or food delivery. Over a year, That's $1,800 invested. Not life-changing overnight, but wealth is rarely built overnight. It's built 1 month at a time. Jordan understands that consistency beats perfection. He doesn't wait for the perfect market. He doesn't try to predict tomorrow's headlines. He simply keeps investing every month. The process becomes automatic. No stress, no guessing, no emotional decisions. Alex, meanwhile, keeps chasing the next upgrade. A newer phone, a more expensive vacation, better furniture, a nicer car. Each purchase feels small by itself. But together, they quietly reshape his financial future. 5 years later, many of the things Alex bought have already lost value. Some have broken, some have been replaced, some are forgotten completely. Jordan's investments, however, are still there. And with every passing month, they continue working in the background. That's the hidden advantage most people never see. Your money can either work for today's excitement or tomorrow's freedom. The choice isn't made once. It's made every single payday. Fast forward 5 years. Alex and Jordan are now 30. They both started with similar salaries. They both received raises. And they both had the same opportunities. But their financial lives couldn't look more different. Every month, Jordan automatically invested just $200. It wasn't a huge amount. In fact, many people spend more than that on takeout, online shopping, or subscriptions they barely use. The difference wasn't how much Jordan invested. It was that he invested consistently. Every paycheck, every month, without trying to predict the market, without chasing the latest trend, just steady, automatic investing. Alex, on the other hand, spent that same $200 on things that felt rewarding in the moment: new gadgets, food delivery, weekend shopping, impulse purchases. None of them seemed expensive by themselves. But together, they quietly became a habit. Now let's look at the math. $200 every month adds up to $2,400 a year. Over 10 years, that's $24,000 invested or $24,000 spent. One choice leaves you with memories and a few worn-out products. The other gives your money years to grow. And that's where compound growth changes everything. Imagine rolling a small snowball down a hill. At first, it barely grows. But as it keeps rolling, it collects more snow. Investing works in a similar way. Your money earns returns. Then, those returns begin earning returns of their own. Over time, growth starts building on previous growth. That's why the first few years often feel slow. But the longer you stay invested, the more powerful compounding becomes. Jordan understood one simple idea. He didn't need to become rich overnight. He only needed to stay consistent long enough for time to do the heavy lifting. Eventually, something incredible happened. His investments began generating dividends. Instead of spending those dividends, he reinvested them. Now, his investments weren't just growing because of new contributions. They were growing because the investments themselves were helping create more growth. This is where many people underestimate the power of patience. The biggest gains often happen after years of consistency, not after a few months. Meanwhile, Alex was still working harder every year. His salary had increased. But so had his expenses: the nicer apartment, the newer car, the monthly payments. Every raise disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. Jordan wasn't living a perfect life. He still enjoyed vacations. He still bought things he loved. The difference was simple. He paid his future self first. Before spending on wants, he invested in tomorrow. That's the habit that quietly separates people who build wealth from those who spend every paycheck. Your 20s aren't about becoming wealthy overnight. They're about giving your future the one thing money can never buy later. So, how do you avoid the biggest money trap in your 20s? It isn't about becoming extremely frugal. It isn't about never enjoying your life. And it definitely isn't about waiting until you're making 6 figures. It starts with building a simple system. Every paycheck should have a purpose before you spend it. First, Cover your essential living expenses. Next, build an emergency fund that can cover several months of basic expenses. That cash isn't there to make you rich. It's there to protect you when life doesn't go according to plan. After that, make investing automatic. The easiest way to stay consistent is to remove emotion from the process. When money is invested automatically every payday, you're no longer relying on motivation or perfect timing. You're simply building a habit. Then comes the hardest part: learning to ignore lifestyle pressure. Every day you'll see people driving expensive cars, wearing designer clothes, taking luxury vacations, and posting the highlights of their lives online. Remember, social media often shows spending. It rarely shows savings. And it almost never shows debt. Don't compare your financial future to someone else's highlight reel. Instead, compare yourself to the person you were last year. If you're saving more, learning more, and investing more consistently, you're already moving in the right direction. Another lesson many successful investors understand is patience. The market will go up. The market will go down. There will always be headlines predicting crashes or promising easy riches. Don't let short-term noise distract you from long-term goals. Building wealth isn't about making one perfect investment. It's about making good decisions over and over again. Small habits create extraordinary results when you give them enough time. Imagine two people who both earn the same salary. One spends every raise. The other invests part of every raise. 10 years later, their incomes might still look similar, but their financial freedom could look completely different. That's because wealth isn't only determined by how much you earn. It's determined by how much of your income you keep working for your future. Your 20s don't have to be perfect. You don't need to avoid every mistake. You don't need to invest huge amounts of money. What matters most is starting early and staying consistent. Even small monthly investments can become meaningful over decades because time allows compound growth to do what it does best. So here's the challenge. The next time you receive a raise, don't let your lifestyle grow faster than your future. Give every extra dollar a job. Save for emergencies. Invest for tomorrow. And let time become your greatest financial advantage. Because one day, your future self will look back at the choices you made in your 20s. The question is, will those choices become expensive memories? Or lasting wealth? The decision starts today. If you enjoyed this video and want more simple, practical lessons about money, investing, and building long-term wealth, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.